Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So, day one of official spoiler season started off with a bang with Xanathar Guild Kingpin. So if you're waiting around for another Send Triplets Commander, congratulations. And if you weren't, well, I'm sorry. Regardless, if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure you check it out at some point, probably after this episode, which is on Trelassara Moon Dancer. So can this 2-mana Selesnya commander actually make Lifegain powerful? Well, let's jump into it to find out. First up, before I jump into this card, a big thank you to MTG Goldfish for the translated version of this card. Anyways, Trelassara Moon Dancer is a 2/2 elf cleric that costs green-white. She has whenever you gain life but a +1/+1 counter on Trelassara Moon Dancer and scry 1. So Trelassara benefits you in two ways whenever you gain life. First off, you get more and more counters on her, making her more and more into a threat. And secondly, she lets you scry 1 every single time that you gain life. Now, while scrying isn't card advantage, it is card selection. So if you've got a dead card on the top of your library, well, you can just get rid of it. You just put it on the bottom of your library and you don't have to worry about it. And then you hopefully can draw into something that's going to be more impactful. And actually with this commander, it's not even going to be a hope. By gaining life again and again and again, you can scry further and further into your deck until you hit something that you actually want to draw into. And there are a ton of fantastic, repeatable ways to gain a lot of life in Selesnya. And of course, while you're padding your life total by gaining life, you're also going to be digging through your deck, and then at the same time, you're going to be growing your commander into a 2-shot or even 1-shot kill at a certain point. So yeah, this commander can be a value engine as well as a win condition once you're set up properly. But of course, we're going to have plenty of other ways to win as well, and this commander can dig through our deck to help us find those ways too. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, so first up, let's jump into some cards that can help us gain some life. And of course, the first cards that came to my mind with this commander were the Soul Sisters themselves with Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant, and yeah, let's just group Essence Ward into there. She's a Soul Sister now as well. Although she doesn't have Soul in her name, she does the exact same thing. Each of these are 1/1s for just 1 mana that each say, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Keep in mind that counts any creature, not just your own. So already on their own, each of these can gain you an absurd amount of life throughout the game. And again, on top of that, with your commander in play, now that life gain is also going to turn into +1/+1 counters for your commander, and it's going to help you scry and dig through your deck. So the more creatures you get into play, the more you benefit yourself, and the more creatures your opponents play, the more they benefit you too. Yeah, you can set yourself up really well with a turn 1 play of any of these, followed up by your commander, and then you're good to go. And keep in mind, with 2 of these in play, you're getting 2 triggers anytime a creature comes into play. So that's going to be 2 life, 2 counters, and you scry 1 twice. Again, once you're set up with this deck, you can dig through your deck for other key pieces in absolutely no time. We even got another brand new card from this set that can really help us out with Prosperous Innkeeper. It may not be a Soul Sister, but it's kind of close. A 1/1 halfling citizen that has, when it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token, and whenever the creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So although this one does cost you 2 mana, it gets you 1 of that mana back, and then you can also, just gain a lot of life whenever you get creatures in play. Speaking of which, there's a Johnny's Welcome, which is an enchantment that does the exact same thing. And being an enchantment, it can be a lot harder to deal with. Speaking of which, there's Authority of the Consuls. It says, creatures your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, you gain 1 life. So this can slow our opponents down and also gain us a lot of life throughout the game. And again, keep in mind that every card that I've mentioned so far essentially costs 1 mana. I mean, the Innkeeper, yes, costs 2, but it gives you 1 back. Regardless, you can play all these really early on in the game. So right away, you can set yourself up with a lot of sources that can gain you a lot of life. And again, the more sources that you have that gain you life, the better. So another one that can help us out in a different way is Ashes of the Abhorrent. It says players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. And on top of that, whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. So now when creatures die, we benefit as well, and on top of that, this can help us shut down some graveyard synergies. And with Righteous Cause, we can even benefit whenever creatures attack. It's an enchantment that says whenever a creature attacks you, gain 1 life. And keep in mind that those are separate instances of life gain. So for every single creature that attacks, you gain 1 life, then put a +1 counter on your commander, then scry 1. And again, this counts all creatures, not just your own. So your commander can quickly become an unstoppable force, and you can dig through your library in absolutely no time to get to the exact card that you need. And then Sundroplet can also help you out on multiple turns. It says whenever you're dealt damage, put that many charge counters on Sundroplet. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may remove a charge counter from Sundroplet. If you do, you gain 1 life. So essentially, if we've got charge counters on this, every single trip around the table, we can gain 4 life. And again, that's 4 separate instances of life gain. And of course, outside of life gain cards, we've got ways to make our commander even more impactful. First up, let's talk about Evolution Sage, which says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. So when we do that, we choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. Obviously, this can help get our commander more counters and more counters on our other creatures if we've got counters there, but it also can even help out with cards just like Sundroplet that have charge counters too. And of course, since we're in green, we've got plenty of ways to ramp and get more lands in play, so we can proliferate a lot with this card. But of course, there are plenty of cards out there that can help us get even more counters on our commander. The problem is that some of the most efficient ones out there are quite expensive, like Hardened Scales, Branching Evolution, and Pure Imaginative Rascal. Hardened Scale says if 1 or more +1 counters we put on a creature you control, that many +1 are put on it instead. And then Branching Evolution is somewhat similar, but it's twice as many. And then Pure says if 1 or more counters we put on a permanent your team controls, that many +1 of each of those counters are put on it instead. Again, unfortunately, a lot of +1 counter synergy cards out there like these can be quite expensive. And I'm not even bringing up cards like Doubling Season or Parallel Evolution, etc, etc. While these 3 cards are around $10 or so, those cards are around $50, and yeah, of course they're going to be good in +1 counter decks. Regardless, cards like these aren't the only way to make our commander hit harder. So of course, we can talk about a card like Lockstead and Warhammer that helps us out in multiple ways. It says equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has Trample and Lifelink. So first off, this can help our commander get a ton of damage through. Again, with all the life gain synergies in this deck, we're going to get our commander pretty large pretty quickly. So then we can suit our commander up with this and trample through with a lot of damage. And then when we do that, thanks to the lifelink, we're going to be gaining a ton of life. And then we get yet another counter on our commander and we scry 1 again. Or how about Whisper Silk Cloak? It says equipped creature can't be blocked and has Shroud. So first up, this guarantees that our commander is going to be getting through. And again, with all of our life gain sources in this deck, it can be very easy to make our commander into a 2-shot or even a 1-shot kill. And while this makes our commander unblockable, on top of that, it protects her. Since no one can target her, we can protect our win condition as well as our value engine. But of course, even something as simple as Rogue's Passage can be very impactful with this commander. It taps for a colorless and it has pay 4 and tap it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. So yeah, a repeatable way to get her through on a land that doesn't even take up a spot in the deck can be great for this kind of a deck. But aside from growing our commander and making her even more powerful, let's talk about some other things that we should be considering. First up, let's talk about some cards that work with the top of our library with cards like Courser of Krufix, Dryad, Greenseeker, and Garruk's Horde. Courser of Krufix says, play the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card, and whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. This card is fantastic in this deck, and the amount of value that it can give you is absurd. First off, by knowing what's on top of our library, that can really help us with knowing when to scry. If we've got ways to control when we actually gain life, then we can choose to scry when we need to. And on top of that, when it's a land on top of our library, well, we can get rid of that dead draw by actually just playing it. And when we do play that land, or any other land for that matter, we're going to be gaining a life, which again grows our commander and lets us scry 1. So yeah, Courser of Krufix can do a ton of work throughout the game. But even something as simple as Dryad Greenseeker can make a difference too. It asks tap, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. With all the scrying that we're going to be doing with this deck, we're going to know what's on top of our library. And because of that, we can essentially control when a land's going to be on top of our library. So essentially this just becomes tap, draw a card. So this can get a dead draw off the top of our library and into our hand and help us hit our land drops. And then Garruk's Horde helps us out in a different way. First off, it's a 7/7 beast with trample, but on top of that it says, play the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So with our commander, we can keep scrying into creatures and then keep casting them off the top. And again, with a Soul Sister or two in play, then we gain some life, scry some more, get another creature on top, then we can cast that, and you see where this is going. Or we can actually have our opponents help us out as well with Lurking Predators. It says whenever an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, otherwise you may put that card in the bottom of your library. Again, with the amount of scrying that we can do with this deck, we're gonna know what's on top of our library. So we make sure a creature's on top, then whenever an opponent casts any spell, well, we get that into play for free. And then again, if we've got some more Soul Sister type effects in play, we gain some more life, we scry some more, and we get another creature on top. And even if we're not hitting a creature, this can still basically help us scry whenever an opponent casts a spell. Regardless, another kind of card that scry can really help us with are cards like Entreat the Angels and Terminus, which have Miracle. Entreat the Angels is a sorcery for XX white white white. It says create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying, and its miracle cost is X white white. So miracle basically means that we can cast this card for its miracle cost when we draw it if it's the first card we drew this turn. So again, with all of our scrying, we can set ourselves up to make sure that a miracle card is going to be the first card that we draw in the turn. And paying X white white is going to be a lot better than paying XX white white white. So this can be yet another fantastic way for us to finish off our opponents and win with a giant army of angels. Or if things aren't looking so good, we can cast Terminus. It's a sorcery for 4 white white, and it says put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries, and it's got a miracle cost of white. So yeah, a 1-mana board wipe that can get around indestructibility and graveyard synergies is pretty fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, let's talk about Nykthos Paragon. This is a newer card that says whenever you gain life, you may put that many ++1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. Now, keep in mind that this only happens once a turn, but again, we've got plenty of ways to gain life on every turn. And again, if we give our commander lifelink with something like Lockstead and Warhammer, and we hit our opponents for a ton, well, then all of our creatures become gigantic. Or, you know, with all that life we gain, we can just finish our opponents off with Aetherflux Reservoir. It says whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and by paying 50 life, it deals 50 damage to our creature or player. So first off, yeah, this can work really well with our commander's trigger, but also, yeah, it can also just be a fantastic way to finish our opponents off. With this deck, we can easily gain an absurd amount of life and take all opponents out with this, or even if we don't have enough to take everyone out, we can just hold players hostage with it until we can. And of course, with a Lifegain deck, we can also just win the game with Felidar Sovereign. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 more life, you win the game. So if our opponents don't deal with this or knock our life total down, well, it's game over. But now let's talk about some commanders that might want Trelassara in the 99 of their decks. So the first commander I thought of that might want her in the 99 is Lathiel the Bounteous Dawn. Lathiel is a 2/2 unicorn with lifelink that costs 2 green-white. It has at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many ++1 counters among any number of other target creatures. So yeah, this kind of a deck's already going to have a ton of life gain and ++1 counter synergies. So Trelassara can definitely find a home here. Another place that she can find a home is with Trostani, Selesnya's Voice. Trostani says whenever the creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. And by paying 1 green-white, you tap to populate. So Trostani can be a great life gain engine for Trelassara. By making a ton of tokens, we gain a lot of life, get Trelassara huge, and then on top of that, we also scry a ton. And then we can simply just keep populating more and more tokens with this commander as well, and of course we've got plenty of other ways to gain life with a commander like this. And although Trelassara isn't an enchantment creature, the new Sithis Harvest Hand from Modern Horizons 2 might want to consider her as well. Sithis is a 1/2 Nymph 4 green-white, and she says whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So again, with Trelassara in play, let's say you cast an enchantment, you gain 1 life, draw a card, then you get a ++1 counter on Trelassara, and then you scry 1 to set up your next draw. So Trelassara can help you get rid of dead cards off the top of your library for the next time that you cast an enchantment spell. So again, even though Trelassara isn't an enchantment creature, it might be able to find a spot in this deck. But now it's time for me to wrap things up and give you my final thoughts on Trelassara Moon Dancer. Trelassara might be a very simple commander, but it can be quite powerful. Again, there are plenty of repeatable life gain effects in Commander. The more that you have in play, the more life that you gain, the bigger your commander gets, and the deeper into your deck you can dig. Then you can find even better effects, or you can find other finishers, or the perfect card for the situation that you're in. So yeah, Trelassara can definitely take life gain and turn it into something quite powerful. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again, and have a good one.